In July, the Open Championship will be held at Royal Liverpool for the 12th time, and in the coming months the finishing touches will be made to ready the Hoylake Links. Preparations, however, have long been in motion.
Well, we're always working well ahead with all of our venues. We tend to announce venues perhaps 4 or 5 years in advance of the championship, but talking to the clubs earlier than that. So it's probably true to say it will be about 6 years ago we started talking to Royal Liverpool about the 2014 Open.
As was the case in 2006, the R&A will be adopting an alternative championship layout on the course in order to accommodate the grandstands around the 18th hole.
Well, one thing we have to do at Royal Liverpool is change the sequence of the holes. Their own 18th that they play as members of the club doesn't have the room around the green for all the grandstands that we need, the big amphitheatre at the end of the Open. And so we actually start at the 17th as the first hole, finishing at the 16th, very famous dogleg par 5 as our 18th hole and indeed 72nd hole for the championship. Well, we're always looking at our venues to make sure that they test today's top players in the way that they need to be tested. And we have to make sure in our duty to the Open Championship that the venues are capable of testing these players to the utmost. So we've been through every venue that stages the Open at the moment and made enhancements. We did some of that at Royal Liverpool prior to the 2006 Open. But of course that had been the first time we'd been back to Liverpool since 1967, and so a little bit more we felt was needed to be done, and gladly the club agreed. Many of the holes at Royal Liverpool have had something done to them, but perhaps we could zone in on just a few. The first hole, that is the first for the championship, the 17th for the members, I think has become now probably the hardest opening hole on the Open Rota. The left-hand side of the fairway in the rough there, the ground has been broken, it's not somewhere you want to hook a drive, and the green has been reshaped. It has a new bunkering arrangement and swales around it, so it's really quite a tough target, often into the wind, and I think that's going to be a very hard opening hole. I think it's perhaps going to be the hardest hole in the whole championship. Another subtle change we've made is actually to the approach at the third hole, where the swale in front of the green has been extended to the right, covering half of the green, so the iron shot that you need to play to approach it, especially with the out of bounds on the right, now needs to be much more precise than it was in 2006.
Adding length to the layout has been kept to a minimum for this year's championship. The course is only 50 yards longer than in 2006, and the greatest single increase of 30 yards is on the par 4 7th hole, which now measures a formidable 480 yards.
The 9th hole, very famous par 3 in the history of the game. The green has been reconfigured there, reshaped, with swales added, bunkering reshaped, and in some cases heightened to avoid a flooding area that was prevalent in heavy rain. There's now a very demanding long par 3. It requires a really precise long iron shot to hold that green. And we've made, I think, quite an interesting change on the 11th hole by removing a bunker on the left-hand side and replacing it with a swale with a rather steep bank. And players, I think, will be wondering whether to lob it from there or try to putt it or run it up the bank. And against a front left hole location, that's going to be quite a hazard. So a very subtle change on the 11th.
So, with some subtle changes in place, the world's best golfers are set to face a stiff challenge at Royal Liverpool in the 143rd Open Championship.